Mr. Muchumi. That's a wrong start. Mr. Muchumi, we can't hear you. No.
Members. The apology I received is from Ms. Komani. She's got a bereavement. Chair, it's a connectivity problem, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you'll have to settle. Yeah, we can't hear you. We just heard Komani, who is having a bereavement problem. We didn't hear any other thing. Then please settle yourself because we are starting a meeting now. Position yourself in a very conducive environment. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Ms. Piri also is in the Committee on Women, but she is going to be joining us later. She will not be able to participate, however. And Mr. Kwangwa is also attending another meeting, Chair. He will not be able to join us today.
Okay. Look, just try to get a better spot. You're still terrible, but we got what you have said. Thank you. Honorable members, welcome, AG. We will be, without wasting time, going straight to you so that you take us through your presentation. I hope you're ready now.
Chairperson.
Yeah, I see the hands there. Mr. Kachalia and Mr. Isaac.
Okay, Mr. Kachalia, I can go first.
Mr. Kachalia?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here, Mr. Isaac and I. The DA has requested our presence, our party, for some urgent party business at 12 o'clock. So we would request early departure and hope that we could get the chunk of the business underway by then. Thank you very much.
Okay, hope we'll be done by that time. I hope so. AG?
Morning, Honorable Chairperson, and morning to the committee members. Firstly, let me just thank the committee for inviting us to come and brief them on the outcomes of our review of the annual performance plan for the Department of Public Enterprise. Maybe before I get into the business of the day, Honorable Chair, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Madidi Malosingo. I am a business unit leader within the Auditor-General's office, and I lead the portfolio that is responsible for public enterprises amongst others. Together with me today is Nomthandazo Ndlovu. She is a deputy business unit leader who is responsible for the audit of the Department of Public Enterprises. I'm also supported by Bongmusa Tabete. He's the senior manager within the Office of the Auditor General, and he's the one that is going to be taking us through the presentation today. Honorable Chair and honorable members, as I've indicated at the beginning, we will be sharing with you the review of the outcomes of our review of the annual performance plans. But before we get there, we thought that it is important to also share with this committee our culture shift strategy, which really talks to the journey that the Auditor-General's office is going to be undertaking since our AG Maluleke came into office up until her tenure at the end of 2013. And this really talks to the strategic aspiration that we have as an office of improving the public sector culture as it relates to ensuring that we see performance, we see accountability, and we see transparency. And in sharing this strategy, we really believed that the portfolio committees as well as Parliament are quite critical players in ensuring that we work together in ensuring that we improve the current state of government and the auditees that we oversee. And therefore, from that perspective, we really do see that there's a lot of work that we can do together to strengthen our relationship between the AGSA's office with the portfolio committee, but also it gives us an opportunity to say, how can we best support the committee's work? And that in the long run, we really work together as strategic partners in terms of improving government. So part of the work that we will, part of the presentation that we will do today is just really taking the committee through that culture shift strategy, and it will really link nicely to the work that we've also done under the review of the annual performance plan. Chairperson, as you've indicated in your opening remarks, we have reviewed the annual performance report for the Department of Public Enterprises. That is what we'll be sharing with you today. The APP that we reviewed was a draft that was presented to us by the department. And we've shared these observations with the department with the hope that they would then in turn, as they finalize the APP, ensure that our inputs are also incorporated. The work that we've done, Honorable Chair, as it relates to the proactive review of the APP, it touched on a couple of matters, and I'll just go through them at a high level as we then prepare to get into the presentation. The first thing that we looked at in looking at the annual performance plans was whether the indicators and the strategic objectives that had been included in this document were complete and were linked properly or related properly to the core functions of the mandate and the service delivery expectations of the citizens. Secondly, we then looked at whether the indicators and objectives that have been set are measurable, are relevant, and we also looked again at the quality of those indicators in order to see whether they would indeed assist the department to ensure that it actually indeed achieves the mandate as desired by the citizens. And then the last two things that we then looked at was the preparation process or the revision process of the annual performance plan and how that actually aligns with key strategic government priorities that are included in the MTSF, in the SONA, and in any other communication that we do see from the presidency. So from that perspective, we're really looking to see when certain announcements are made in terms of MTSF and SONA and budget speech, how do they then those find expression in the strategic planning documents of government? And that was really from a perspective of understanding that in order for things to get done, you actually need to hold people accountable by ensuring that they are included in this document. And lastly was just to really see that the prior material misstatements that we would have identified as it related to the performance audit that we do, whether those have then been factored in terms of the current plan. What is important is that the process that we've undertaken, we have briefed the department.
Recording in progress.
We have briefed the department, and we've also ensured that we briefed the chairperson of the committee. But that is just to ensure that there is indeed alignment as we then get into the new financial year. And we then try to do that before the end of the financial year to ensure that as the department starts off in the current year, they ensure that these inputs are then incorporated. What is important to note is that the current review of the APP, it's obviously forward-looking in terms of the one that's going to be implemented in the current year. However, that is important to make sure that the department takes into account our inputs as they were finalizing the document, and ensure that that gets implemented in the year that's coming, and we will then review that as part of the audit outcomes for 2023-2024. Chairperson, the last thing that we thought it's important to brief this committee about is the state of the material irregularity process, normally referred to as the extended powers of the Auditor-General. So we do give a high-level update in terms of what are the areas where we have identified these material irregularities, how many are there, how many are in progress. And we do hope, Chairperson, that we will also still get an opportunity in future meetings to really go through this material irregularities that have been identified, and again brief the committee in a more in-depth manner in terms of this extended powers at this particular stage. Chairperson, I think with that, I would like to, with your permission, hand over to Musa, who will take us through the entire presentation. And then immediately after that, we will then take the committee's inputs and questions on the work that we have done. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Musa.
Thank you, Chairperson, and then thank you to Madi about the opening. I don't know that you can hear me. Can I just confirm while I'm just trying to sort the logistic of projecting?
We hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay, perfect. In terms of the try to project the slides and then just confirm if you can see them.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And then I think let me follow the same greetings that Madi has done on the committee as well as the support staff together with my colleagues, and appreciate the opportunity that you have given us to present the culture shift as well as the outcomes of our assessment of the APP. I'll just I'll put my presentation into the presentation mode. And then I'm fully aware that I'll switch off the video just now. It does sometimes interrupt the conversation when you present. The mission for the AGSA has continued to be the same, but what I just want you to be aware of is that when I mention SAI, I mean Supreme Audit Institution. AGSA is a Supreme Audit Institution. So here our role is to ensure that we enable the oversight, accountability and governance in the public sector through auditing. You'll see the activities and that I will be going through how they then assist this committee in terms of the oversight. We continue to be wanting to be a recognized stakeholder by all, to be recognized by all stakeholders as a Supreme Audit Institutions, that enhances the public sector accountability. So you will see also as I continue with the accountability ecosystems, asking for participation in what we are trying to achieve. Okay, just as a background, the Constitution of South Africa does give us more really the background around what the auditees should be doing. More so, Chapter 3 will indicate that the expectation from the auditees is that they secure the well-being of the people. They need to ensure that they provide the service delivery that is effective, transparent, and accountable, and coherence to government is a whole mandate. So there is also an expectation from the constitutions that we as Chapter 9 institutions, we strengthen the democracy. We are fully aware that as it stands, the AGSA has that power indeed to ensure that we audit and we evaluate whether the resources of government have been adequately used in a manner that is economically and utilized effectively and efficiently. We also have those extended mandates, which is about taking appropriate remedial actions based on our recommendation, and also dealing with the issuance of the certificate of debt. That is more on when we have done some remedial actions, and then accounting officers or authorities have failed to implement some roles. What are we doing currently? And we are moving towards, and we are trying to influence more on improving the lives of the people. And we have set it that way because we thought it is a critical state that we needed to deal with. And before we could do that, we asked ourselves whether are we alone in doing this. And then we identified that almost majority of their size are indeed moving towards looking into the audit that is influencing and touching the lives of the citizens. I mean, we're looking into how well can we improve the lives of the citizens through our mandates. There are a number of sites that are doing similar works that we are doing now. You'll see that United States, they have work that is dealing around the well-being and the security of the American people. When you go to Netherlands, you'll find that they are also doing a similar work, which is looking into the citizens and the business as a starting point for their work, and it's also the end point for their work. You'll see New Zealand is also dealing with similar activities, asking themselves or examining how well the public sector achieves positive change on the citizens. You'll also realize that even our sustainable development goals, they really push us to audit what matters. And then it is almost important that to indicate that almost every audit officer is trying to move towards looking into linking what is being audited to the improvement of the lives of the citizens. So as in Africa, a number of SIs are also looking into the service delivery element, meaning when you go to Rwanda and Zambia, you'll find that they are also looking into whether the public resources are being utilized for the national priorities and well-being of the citizens. As well as when you go to Kenya, you'll find that their visions, they are more like looking into making the difference to the lives of the citizens. So as in Gambia, they have got similar strategies in terms of improving the lives. What prompts us to get into this state? You will be aware that when we reflect on the state of the public sector, when we were drafting the culture shift strategy, we did note that there was a limited progress on the audit outcomes. And then that limited progress also continued to provide also the continued misuse of state resources. You will be aware how we portrayed the outcomes, as well as the number of media articles that were telling us that, and as well as our reports, that there is continued misuse of state resources. Ultimately, that results into a negative impact on the lives of our people, meaning the lived realities of our people. And it also has got a significant impact on us in terms of achieving our mandate, because what we want to improve is the confidence from our stakeholder, but we also want to prevent the negativity in the constitutional democracy. So when we continue to have limited or no progress or misuse of state resources, it has got that negative impact. Hence, we said we need to design strategies that will improve the current state of government. Over the next 8 years, this strategy was designed in 2021, but we were looking into the 8 years as from 2022 going forward. So what we are committing to do is that we are committing to make more direct, consistent, and meaningful impact in improving the lives of the citizens of South Africa. So that is what we have made as our theme, and then the theory of change. What is important, and that theory is simply to say, sustainably and efficiently, we want to shift the public sector culture through insight, influence, and enforcement. We have then designed about 6 strategic goals, which will be able to respond to that. You will see that even these strategic goals, they are talking about sustainable, they are talking about efficiency, they are talking about shifting the public sector culture, they are talking about insight, they are talking about influence, they are also talking about enforcement. Each and every strategic goals has got its initiatives. Some of them are internalized, some of them are externalized. Like under influence, we are more looking into how well do we portray the messages to the key stakeholders. And then among other that, what we realize is that it is key for us to be able to achieve the strategy. It can be done through us working together with other stakeholders. So meaning we said there should be an accountability ecosystem, which is we need to be able to strengthen the broader based effective network of stakeholders driving and deepening the public sector accountability. If we do that, then it means we will be able to influence mostly stakeholders that will advocate the objectives that we are wanting to achieve. I'll touch more later on some of these aspects. We did an assessment earlier on and to asking ourselves as to say, in making a difference to the citizens, what is the current state of the auditees? And then we started to plot them. These dots that we are seeing here, we are plotting them on from the left in terms of the auditees that are doing harm, those that are doing nothing, those that are doing basics, those that are doing no harm, those that are doing good. Then we said, no, our objective is that as we move forward in terms of critically moving the mass of the auditees to the culture of performance, accountability, and transparency, we want to move these dots towards the right. So meaning we want to make sure that by 2030, large auditees are going into a space of doing good. So that the current state is on the top, the anticipated state is on the bottom. So we want to move these dots towards the good performance. And you'll see on this picture is just asking as to what does it mean to you? And in terms of the accountability ecosystems, you'll see that for us to be able to make this cycle, we need to join the hands. And it is important that not only AGSA does this, and then the committee as well as multiple stakeholders, which are also included here, should be able to participate in this accountability ecosystem, meaning multiple stakeholders must be able to assist us in terms of driving and deepening the accountability in the public sector. I will not dwell that much on the slides. It is a similar, just explaining as to the key elements around the accountability. But what is important is that these are partners that should be coming through as one of those partners, as a couple of those partners that should be assisting us in terms of dealing with this mandate. And we have identified a number of stakeholders. You'll see political parties, the accounting officers, the audit functions like audit committees, all other institutions of Chapter 9 should also be playing the same role. So not only when we execute the strategy, we will be looking into just doing our work, but we will also try and see how best we can influence the other parties to be able to be on the same page with us. Now, coming to the Department of Public Enterprise, we needed to reflect on the current environment as to what is happening, what is the mandate of Department of Public Enterprise, and how well are they doing executing their mandate in relation to what is expected of them. We are very mindful that from the mandate of DPE, their aim and their mandate, it is about them directing and supporting the improvement in the financial, commercial, and operational performance of the SOCs, thereby contributing to the South African economy. They also have to make a positive contributions towards the transformation of the economy in line with the NDPE requirements. So that is what we expect DPE to be doing. And we ask ourselves as to say, if we look into what we have observed over the past years, are we seeing that alignment? Are we seeing DPE doing that? The first reflection on their performance is that we noticed when we evaluate their performance year in and year out, they seem to present a performance reporting that says we are achieving our targets. They are reporting, when they present their reports, they say we are achieving our targets, but there is something that is a gap. When you then look into the mandate, which is about looking into the improvement financially, commercially, and operational performance on the SOCs, you see that when you ask yourself around the state of the SOCs, you and I will be on the same page that the state is not improving, but it is deteriorating. Therefore, the question is to say, now that your mandate, DPE, is about improving this, and then you are saying you are achieving your performance, but the people that we expect you to be improving, they are not improving. In fact, they are even going down. And then we then said, okay, there is some gap that we need to be able to deal with, and we are concerned with it. Hence, our reflection is to say the presentation on performance is usually not linked to the mandate of the department, but we'll reflect further on this. Hence, we say there is a greater need for us to ensure that there is an alignment between what DPE is saying they have achieved in relation to their mandate, so that we can be able to talk the same story when we say they have performed and then we see the result. What they've designed as their desired performance, and which we indeed wanting to see happening. We want to see an improved governance accountability. We want to see the beautiful independent SOCs. We want to see the increase in the contribution of the SOCs to the South African economy. Also the energy security, we want to have it there. But critically, and you will also note that as they are trying to improve the SOCs, some of the processes that they are going through is about their role in terms of ensuring that there are proper policies and the bills that gets to be implemented. Critically so, it is also important for them to be able to define what will their role be when they take decisions like being minority shareholders. Those roles are key, needs to be clearly defined. And we are raising that point critically because you will recall in the past, we had mentioned that when the government becomes the minority, the question is then is about to say, what will be their role? So the policy developments must be able to guide that. Meaning if you're no longer having an influence, and then what will be then your role? And then how are you going to still be influential, remain influential when you are no longer having a significant influence? The risk that we risk to experience, and then we see that when we don't close these gaps, we will likely to realize is the lack of transparency, meaning not reflecting the actual activities that the DPE is doing. And then that will result into the weakening oversight of processes, meaning even this committee, while you are overseeing the performance, you are likely not to be able to take proper decisions because the performance does not tell you what they are doing. Lastly, the public confidence will continue to be lost if the performance is not properly dealt with. There are areas which we are responding to it. The first part, which is what we will present today, is about looking into the APP before they can even be approved and reflecting on them as to say, what are the gaps that are in there? And then also in the current year audit, you will find similar approaches, findings that are now reviewing the 2022-2023 APP and looking into whether it is still telling the information that is relevant, meaning we interrogate further the APP just to make sure that it is telling the information that is relevant. Also, it tells the reports that is completed. We also have scoped in Department of Public Enterprise for the material irregularities. In the past, we had not, and we continue to do that. But we also had adopted another approach of engaging with the auditors of these SOEs, and then trying to understand in terms of their field as to say what is the role of DPE in their audits, meaning in that space, as well as the concerns that they have. But we also have implemented measures that assist us to really increase the interaction with management. But also, if there are areas that we feel they are still not addressed, we will come back to this committee and present them. Here are the observations that we noted when we looked into the APP that was presented to us, and then which this committee should really be capacitated and be mindful of them, as well as when you look into the APP, when it is presented to you, you should be mindful of these matters. When we looked into it as a draft, and then it remains the responsibility of the department to ensure that they address the findings that were raised to them. We did not go back and reassess after it was finalized as to say they have done it correctly, like Madi had indicated. So we are expecting that they would have addressed our questions that we had raised and the concerns. The first concerns that you will find when you look into their draft APP is that when you look into an indicator that they have presented, there is no really correlation between the annual target and the desired performance. For example, you will find that when they are mentioning that they are measuring number of reports on the intervention provided to reduce the SOC's infrastructure vandalism. And then meaning here, what they are going to give you or what they are going to present on the report, they are going to say, our aim is to have 4 progress reports, and then we have achieved 4 progress reports. Now, when you go to the mandate and you say the desired performance, here the aim is about reducing this vandalism that is taking place in the SOCs, like the infrastructure, the rail, and so on. So the aim here is about to say, is it reducing or is it not reducing? When you read the performance is about, even if it is not reducing, it is increasing. The fact that they may have done 4 reports in a year about the vandalism, then it means they have achieved, but it tells no story about the performance or about what was aimed to be achieved. That is the one of the material challenges that we experience when we look into their performance. Because when you are telling the users about your performance, it must tell whether you are improving or the situation is not improving. It must tell us about the efficiency of that activity, but it does not. At the moment, you have indicators that do not correlate with the desired performance. Number 2, you do see that the some set targets does not achieve the intended outcomes. You'll find that the targets have been set, but they don't talk about what the oversight role, whether it is effective, or it does not even tell you about whether in the SOC space there is an improvement in the performance. So we have a number of them. These indicators that we've listed here are some of them whereby we were saying, look, we can see your target, but it tells no story about what you are doing in terms of performance. It tells no story whether you are effective in performing the oversight or you are not effective in performing the oversight. It also tells no story about whether the SOC's performance is there or not there. So those are the gaps that we have identified in reviewing their APP. The next gap that we identified is that you find that the indicators that are included in the APP should be having something called technical indicator definition that defines what will be delivered. So if that technical indicator definition is not included, it means we might not be able to measure something that is really critical or that is important. Meaning, when someone says, I want to build a house, they must be able to define what will be their house. Will it be the foundation? Will it be the roof? Will it be the plastered? Will it be a house that is painted and finished at that? So that is what the technical indicator definition aims to achieve. It also gives you mostly the tools that will be used to get there. So when you don't have that, you are risking of not measuring it, or you are risking saying you have achieved when you have not done so because you have never defined what indeed really would have been the house. So we have a couple of those indicators that never achieved, never did not have the technical indicator definitions. There is also an expectation that when you set targets, you don't only set the targets for that year, you set the target for also the out years, meaning 2024, 25, 26. So some indicators, you'll find that when you look into the targets that are set for future years, they would really not be measurable. But also when they gave us this APP, we could see that it was not fully reviewed to ensure that it is credible. Certain indicators that were set in the past were coming back as the same targets, meaning the same thing that you had set to achieve in the previous year, and then you are coming back and reflecting as such. So that is not correct, and then you need to be able to update, or if the indicator was not fully achieved, and then you then design an achievement or a target for that year, because you would have progressed. It's not that you will be in zero and then you would have progressed. Hence, we said, look, they must be able to look into what they have said and make sure that it is really what they will be doing during the year. When you further interrogate the performance in number 6 here, you are expecting to understand whether the assessment, meaning whether the target that is included, it is telling you that there is a specific SOC that has achieved or that has not achieved, or that is not performing or that is performing. When they tell you about, say, for example, they say they have progress reports about the SOC findings. That progress reports can be designed. If they have 7 SOCs that are supposed to report on their progress in responding to the audit findings, even if they have assessed one SOC, they will have a progress report. That progress report will be talking about that one. So they would have achieved. Now, when they come to the committee, they then tell you that, hey, by the way, 6 of the 7 SOCs that were supposed to give us information which assist us to design this progress report never submitted that information. Mainly because when they report, they don't give you the names, they don't tell you the number of all the SOCs that are included in their assessment. And then that is one of those gaps, because you ordinarily would not be able to intervene and say, now then let's deal with those ones that did not submit. For the ones that they have submitted, let's be able to see how best we can assist them. We had also issues around the inconsistencies of the table when a number of indicators had weightings that were not consistent. But there's other 2 critical matters that we identified. It's about ensuring that when they do measure the performance, they really measure the holistic performance of the institutions. We had some divisions who are there, who are budgeted for, but when you look into the APP, there are no targets that are set. For example, the ministry support in the CFO's office, the security and facility management, or the internal audit and so on. These ones, there is a document called AOP. It is an internal document. This committee does not get to scrutinize this document. This is the document that they are saying, look, we use this document to measure the performance of some of these divisions or of some of these operations. But the reality is that you are risking of not telling the story about your performance, because that performance that you are assessing internally, it is risking of you not telling whether you are not doing well or whether you are doing well. But critically so, when the performance is linked to your mandate, it is expected that you report on it. You will find that, for example, they are supposed to provide technical assistance to the boards, meaning they also have to provide legal assurance services that is supporting the SOCs about the legal matters. The question is to say, how are they doing in terms of that? But they are not setting any target for it externally on their APP to be able to say whether they have done the assessment, how efficient they are responding to the matters that are being raised by the SOCs. The one that Madi was referring to earlier on, we then ask ourselves to say, when we read the external documents and when we read even their APP, just opening statements by the ministers and so on, do they reflect that they are measuring the key deliverables that they are expected? When you look into the SONA, when we look into the E&E commitment, are we seeing those targets being set and included on the APP? We found a couple of them that did not seem to have been included. This list is not complete, but it is what we could observe. Firstly, there is an expectation in terms of Section 54 of the PFMA that DPE approves these key decisions that are taken by the SOCs, meaning like the issues around the new routes that need to be implemented, and then the sale transactions of major SOCs and other various transactions that DPE is expected to approve. But the key element there, which is the SOCs are expecting, is the efficiency about DPE dealing with this, meaning if they are applying for the new route, they are expecting DPE to approve it timely so that they can be able to tap into that market and be able to achieve it. But when you go to the APP, you are asking yourself as to say, is there a target that DPE has set themselves for this thing? There are no targets, but this is part of the performance that they are doing there. ALESCO, they have said they will be dealing with ALESCO in terms of the study, which will be looking into the optimal shareholding structure. When you go into the APP, there was no target that is set. They had plans around Transnet in terms of the turnaround plan, and then those ones were not included. I have seen since that the revised one seems to have now incorporated some of these. The issue about the roadmap for Transnet, you would have expected that it is included in their APP. They aim to achieve it by October 2023, so meaning it is a deliverable that is expected to be done for Transnet during the year, but it was not included. What is critical and to the mandate of DPE is that they are looking into dealing with the sustainability of the SOCs, meaning whether the debts are getting reduced, whether there is profitability. But when you ask yourself as to what are the targets that are set in terms of DPE influencing or whether indicating whether there is a reduction in the debt or there is an achievement of profitability, those there are no targets that are talking to those elements. Same as the critical element that has been coming through around the appointment of board members of these SOCs. It is important that they get to be appointed and appointed timely, and as well as critical elements that are expected from the board. But there is not even a single indicator that talks about how well is DPE doing in terms of dealing with appointments of the board or of the board members of these SOCs, yet it is their mandate. These are the areas that we are saying DPE has to improve when they prepare the performance, the annual performance on a year or in and year out basis. As part of this role, this committee has got we expect this committee also to play a critical role in terms of this. We encourage you to also consider just requesting the report from them about how they have addressed the findings that were raised on the proactive findings that were raised on the APPA. That will then give you more comfort as to whether are they responding to these findings. And this is one of the accountability ecosystems that we are asking that, look, let's work together. But while we are raising, we are giving you the insight around the matters, but also go and get the insight as to say, have they now addressed them fully, and how have they addressed all the findings that were raised to them. And I think I stopped there in terms of the findings. Then I give you more insight around material irregularities. As Madi had indicated, we are implementing the material irregularities which are based on the mandate that were effectively implemented on the 1st of April 2019. So in this case, the mandate is mainly asking us to ensure that if there are material irregularities, we refer them where necessary to the public bodies, or we make a recommendation, or we take binding remedial actions, or we issue a certificate of debt. Mainly, the material irregularity is the terminology that is coming from a non-compliance. If you have not complied, or you have a contravention of, or you have done some fraudulent activities or theft or breach of fiduciary duties, once we have identified that matter during the audit, we then ask ourselves the further step, whether has that matter resulted in or is likely to result into a material financial loss, or is it likely to result into the misuse or loss of public resource, or it is likely to result into the substantial harm to the public sector institution or public as in general. So if we are able to tick all those questions into the boxes, and then we then say we have a material irregularity, we then give you a notice that says, please respond within 20 days, which will be telling us as to what are the measures that we have taken to deal with that matter. When it comes to material financial loss, it's about, for example, if you needed to procure an item with a cost of 1 million, but you paid 3 million, it means now you have made the institution to lose. Or if you bought an asset, you never use it, it means you took the funds of the government and then you are not using the assets, so you are misusing the assets of the public. Or if you are dealing with the operations that are substantially harmful to other sector institutions, then we start having challenges. For example, others that will be there, it is there, for example, you have those ones that are damaging the environment, and then that results into a harm to the public and so on. Those matters will then come in as a substantial harm to the public in general. Those are the material irregularity terminologies that we are using. I'm taking it at a high level, not in the deeper definition. And we have already started. We have been working on the material irregularities in number of SOCs. As it stands, we have about 34 SOCs that we have to deal with, but there are only 29 that are implementing the material irregularities. And this status is 31st March 2023. So of the 29. Already we have about 23 audits that are active, and then as at end of March there were 6 that were frozen. It is mainly because of those audits that were under liquidations or that had not submitted the FS. So even though we implement MI, it is difficult to then deal with it when we have not started the audit. But once we start the audit, we deal with them. The status has since changed for some. Like, for example, Dinel was not yet being audited, but we have already started auditing Dinel at this point in time. But SA Express is still on hold. At the moment, we have already identified material irregularities to these resources that we are auditing. Some of them are not within the DPE portfolio committee, but it is safe to indicate that we have material irregularities around SABC, SAPO, Postbank, Transnet. Transnet is part of your portfolio, as well as KALF. It is also part of your portfolio. IDT is not part of your portfolio. We have those material irregularities that we have raised. In the later stage, we had a discussion that maybe we might have to come back to this committee and just give you more insight about what are these and what are the actions that are being taken and how far they are in terms of dealing with it. We just gave you the statistics because of the constraints that we had at this point in time. In conclusion, we are very mindful that the initiatives that we are taking, meaning this strategy that we are going with, which is also accounting for asking for all other partners to be with us, and which is also coming to change the life of the citizens and asking difficult questions. Yes, it is very important and it is very ambitious. And then we know that we can only achieve it through working together with you and with other parties that are in here. So ultimately, the success for us will be through partnerships with various stakeholders, which will assist us to be able to achieve this strategy. Chairperson, thank you for your indulgence and thank you for your time. And then I have covered all the matters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Back to your senior Miss Modidimus. I don't know whether I captured your name correctly. Is there anything you want to say?
No, thank you so much, Chairperson. I think Musa has done quite a comprehensive overview of the matters that we wanted to share with you. At the core of it, it's the culture shift strategy, which really seeks to improve the experience of the South African citizens. We really want to see a change as it relates to the performance of state institutions. We really want to see the state institutions really achieving on their mandate. What we're clear about is that we as the AGSA cannot do it alone. We need to work with a number of stakeholders, which we commonly refer to as accountability ecosystem, in order to achieve this. So from our office, we have always done work around performance information. But as we implement this strategy, we are going to have a deeper focus in terms of what is the mandate of these institutions and to what extent have they in their own respective strategic documents ensure that they set up targets and indicators that really talk to the mandate. The key to it, Chairperson and honorable members, is that we need to start seeing the impact. So we've been throughout a couple of years seeing that, institutions will come with their APPs, they tell us they are performing, but we're not seeing the impact in terms of the way it matters, and that is where it impacts the South African citizen as it relates to the economy, as it relates to job creation, even threatening our own democracy, as Musa had alluded to in the presentation. Our key focus as we share the strategy with you is that one, we do get commitments from the committee in terms of what are the areas where you believe as a committee we can indeed work together. What are the commitments that you as a committee are going to maybe share with us so that we can then work together to ensure that indeed there's accountability and transparency. So that's the one thing of it. So it's just to really get us to align in terms of where we want to take the strategy and what our individual roles are going to be with regards to that. But secondly, I think we've done a very comprehensive presentation around the APP review. Now, we hope that what we've shared with the committee really does empower the committee in terms of asking the right questions as the departments then come and present as the department comes and presents these APPs, right? So we hope that information does really empower the committee, and to the extent that the committee would require additional information from us, we would certainly be happy to share whatever information we have. And then lastly, on the material irregularities, which now talks to our extended powers, I think as it relates to that, we would like to come back to the committee and really have a more in-depth discussion to say, yes, these MIs have been issued. Yes, we've requested accounting officer, we've issued the notification, we've requested accounting officers to take certain actions. What is then the role of the committee in terms of ensuring that those actions are implemented, and what is the oversight role that the committee can play? And I think there is another area where we believe we can actually work together towards ensuring that we do see an improvement in the public sector culture. So maybe I'll pause there, Chair, and we can reflect with the committee in terms of what we've shared, and if there are any questions, we will be happy to take those. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we engage the report? Thank you to the AG for this comprehensive presentation. Honorable members, that is the presentation. I will go through the list as we normally do for members to engage the presentation. Honorable Dlamini, we will be starting. Honorable Nkosinathi Dlamini.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, colleagues and members of the support staff and the AG's office. I think the report is comprehensive and it raises some of the issues that we have been raising as a portfolio committee as well. For me, it's interesting that the AG would comment on the relationship that we want to have post giving shares to strategic equity partners. I'm a bit concerned in that we are moving towards establishing a shareholder company that's going to deal with SOEs and whatnot. I'm worried about an entity called Transnet International, for instance. It doesn't report to our portfolio committee. Is it part of Transnet? Does it do work on behalf of Transnet? And how is the relationship between Transnet, a state-owned entity, and Transnet International? I'm raising this because it appears that that entity is actually doing a lot of work in Africa, but that work does not reflect on the books of Transnet, and it's a bit of a problem. So the models that you want to take and follow now, are they going to follow the same model with Transnet International and Transnet? That's the one area of concern I have. Two, Chair. Yes, I cannot argue against the point made by AG that there must be a relationship between performance and the strategic objectives of these SOEs. If you are saying Transnet has performed in 1, 2, and 3, you must then be able to say how has that improved the problem that existed before. Are we creating more jobs? Are we contributing to the economy positively or negatively and whatnot? I think as we wrap up this administration, these are the things we need to reflect on and be able to say, look, on this we've covered much ground here, we haven't done well, and how do we then maybe set the tone for the next administration? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Comrade Dlamini. Can we go to Honorable Kachalia?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the AG's office for this immensely useful and very honest presentation. It rings alarm bells of note, and it points to us. If we do not work together with the AG on this, we will be accused of fiddling while Rome burns. It is no secret that many of the SOEs that fall under our aegis are responsible for a huge burden on our fiscus and the future and the economic and social future of our country. So thank you very much for this. What it has done, and I don't want to just in headline will say what it speaks to the limited progress of outcomes which promote, and I quote, continued misuse of state resources. Continued is the word. That's on slide 6. On slide 8, it points to the current state of auditees. And it says unequivocally that they are predominantly doing harm or nothing. On slide 12, in terms of the mandate, it says, is there alignment with performance? And it says that it's not improving but deteriorating despite the assertion that targets are being achieved. On slide, and this results in, I quote, transparency going down, oversight, which is our job, going down, and public confidence going down. Slide 14 talks about no correlation between targets and performance, and refers to essentially what is a box ticking exercise in crucial areas such as vandalism and cable theft, which affects many of our SOCs across the board. It goes on to say that the target tells no stories, and it says that there is no technical definition. It says that these targets are not measurable. Slide 16 essentially paints a very sorry story about all of this across the board in all of the SOCs that we are responsible for the oversight of. And slide 18, thankfully, talks to the consequences that are beginning to emerge in this regard from the AG's office, which we welcome and we will work together. I have pointed over as long as I've been on this committee, to many of these things which have resulted in a box ticking exercise and targets which are essentially a wish list and nothing more. And that word, you can go into Hansard and look where I've used it in this committee and how often I've used it. I'm glad to see that the AG is fully aware of this and things are changing, and this committee will have to wake up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kachalia. Honorable Mawotwe. Honorable Mawotwe is not here. Honorable Piri. Honorable Piri. Not here also. Honorable Kumede. Honorable Kumede.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and greetings to the colleagues as well as our visitors. Let's acknowledge, in fact, the presentations given to us. One concurs with the sentiments that Honorable Dlamini shared, that some of the things that in fact are presented today are things that we're trying to probe. Yes, we were picking up that some other things, in fact, there are no correlations in the manner those things are presented to us. But, Chair, I was interested especially on the issue of extended powers. That in fact, those powers are not extended to the fact that if the report is seen to be criminal, or there are some criminal activities identified through the process, they don't have powers to report that. That's a question. Secondly, the 20 days given, if there are no response, unfortunately, I missed that one. What action does the auditor take to that effect? Chair, there is as well a presentation that says not all auditors, the auditees in this instance, are good. Those auditees that are not good, in fact, there is an implication on the side of the work that they do. When that is picked up, what action is being taken for those auditees that are not doing the good work? The identification of gaps, I'm not sure. Already the APP has already been done. And this presentation we're getting today from the auditors is that in fact they've been analyzing the report that in fact is complete. What is going to be happening with that report? Does it suggest that the APP is incomplete, or it will have to be redone? Because it may be the same recurrence for the next financial year, especially somewhere there it has been mentioned by Musa that there is a repeat of some other things that in fact were done previously. Won't we in fact find a situation that a similar
you disappeared.
incorrect processes are being followed? Hello, Chair. Hello.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was cut. I don't know what happened. But the question that I was trying to ask is, was the presentation presented to the department? I am in fact interested to hear what was the department's comment. This in fact may not even be responded to by the Auditor-General, but the department itself may as well make the comment about this. It's in fact, I'm as well put the APP at this stage as it is given to us. Is it skewed? Not skewed? Could it be the APP that we find authentic on our side. Perhaps, Chair, let me wait there for a time being. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. But it was those were the very good reports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Gumede. Sorry for that cut. I thought the problem is on my side. Can I get Honorable Isaac?
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, colleagues, colleagues from the AG's office. Chairperson, yes, let me just start off also with commending the AG's office on what I think was a very informative and a quality report indeed. In fact, somewhat of an eye-opener. Chairperson, the takeaway for me is that there seems to be a much greater need for alignment between the DPE's mandate and performance targets included in the APP. That's what my takeaway is. Because if I recall correctly, in March, the AG's office pointed out clearly that there is a repeat of the prior year's target, and thus that the APP was not fully reviewed. I think Honorable Gumede alluded to that just now. So, it was not fully reviewed, and to ensure that it is linked to the new financial year, 23-24 activities. There is this internal document, the AOP, which has been referred to by the presenter. Now, there seems to be no scrutiny within our committee, and this has been clearly pointed out. The question arises, why? I mean, why is there certain key deliverables and issues that are being kept internally? And it is my opinion that it is us to, as a committee, to interrogate this. I think it's important. The issue on Alexco, I have raised this on various occasions. And let us be frank, Chairperson, and very honest with each other. Nobody really seems to be knowing or up to speed with what is really going on within Alexco. Alexco is a mess, and there are huge issues to be interrogated there. A strong point, again, was made by the AG's office, and it was raised now, that we as the committee should ensure that the AG's report findings are incorporated into the APP before, I repeat, before accepting the department's budget vote. Now, we must keep this in mind, because we as the committee, Chairperson, are the oversight body of the department, and we should not forget that. And it is up to us that we ensure that the department addresses these shortcomings within the APP. This is of cardinal importance, Chairperson. So I'm just going to conclude by saying that, honestly, again, this is my opinion, that the public has lost confidence in the SOEs across the board within South Africa. And it is really up to us as this administration or this committee to begin to pull up our socks and interrogate these issues. I'll stop there for now, Chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Isaac. I don't see Honorable Buthelezi. Is always not attending, by the way. I will go to Honorable Malinga. Malinga, are you still here? Yes, Honorable Thokozile Malinga, are you here? Okay. Let's go to Honorable Mkhwanazi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning to the AG's office. Honorable Chair, I want to concur with the honorable members before me that the report is so comprehensive and is so informative, and it's a bit of an eye opener for us to deal with the coming APP of the department. Chairperson, I've been fairly covered by the honorable members before me, but I think the report is really helping us in identifying key areas in its finding. The issue of a lack of transparency and by the department reporting on the issues, on the other issues and the targets. But the issue of the oversight process that is hitting us on us, and we need to reflect to us on that process, on that performance on the oversight, in playing the oversight, but also dealing with the public confidence over issues of the SOEs. But Chair, as I said, well, I think this report will assist us going forward, and it will also assist us in making sure that we make a thorough oversight over the department APP as it we're supposed to deal with it in the coming weeks. For that, Chairperson, thank you very much. It was indeed a comprehensive report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kwanazi. Honorable members, I think before we give to the Auditor-General for final comment, but I think we need to indicate to them that as the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprise, we have been consistently raising this particular matter of the audit outcomes of the department, always very positive, whilst on the other side, we have poor audit outcomes presented by these SOEs, of which their key responsibility is to oversight and assist them specifically on issues of accountability, how they use the money, how they make the state-owned entities efficient and with profitability and all those things. But we were always uncomfortable with those kind of differences where the state-owned companies performed better while the department itself is performing positively in terms of its audit outcomes. We have been consistently raising that. Also, we are mindful of a lot of those issues that you raise. But I will also I hope next time when you brief us on these issues, we will be in a position to invite the department to be present so that it can be in a position in your present, in our present, account on some of these issues. For example, we were shown of indicators on targets where in most cases you find the entity changing the targets in the middle of the financial year, while it has put a particular target, and then when perhaps they could see that they won't be in a position to achieve, and you find in the middle of the process the targets changed, and those issues we would like the department in front of you to be in a position to respond to. But however, they are not here now. We hope that I hope that the members have captured those issues. Will be when we deal with the IPPs, the members will be in a position to raise those issues sharply once again for the department to take that in cognizance. Yeah. But I don't go to that extent that I think that one is an exaggeration of the situation. Perhaps it's a political statement, not necessarily the concrete facts. People still have confidence. There's no, unless people don't have problems of unemployment, they don't have issues of transformation that are not taking place in the private sector. Therefore, there's no way that people can lose confidence in the state-owned entities because we want them. We wouldn't be doing all this work if we don't want those state-owned entities being run efficiently and the accounting on daily basis to the citizen and able to improve the quality of life of our people. We have full confidence to that. Some of us, especially the majority part, we don't have confidence in the private sector that it can create equality in South Africa. They don't have that history. They won't have it today, while they never had that history in million years. Therefore, Black economic empowerment can be better be implemented at the public sector. It's public sector that employs Black CEO, it's private sector, it's public sector that assist small, medium enterprises in this country who are Black by and large. Therefore, people who have an interest in the transformation of this country won't say we don't have confidence in the public sector. Of course, people are critical about problems of corruption, problems of inefficiency, and so on that are taking place in these public-owned entities. But we won't lose confidence on them. We want them to improve. That's why we oversight them. That's why we always tell them to do good, is because we do have in those state-owned entities interest for our people, not for only ourselves, but for our people and the South Africa at large, particularly those who are historically experienced inequalities in this country, experience oppression and all those exploitations and so on, with no rights and so on. Therefore, we still have confidence in the state. That's why our energy must be spent towards making them improve, not selling them to the private sector, because that will be a reversal of the gains that we have achieved since 1994. Therefore, we will end there, Auditor-General, and ask for your response to all these issues that have been raised.
Chairperson, sorry, may I just come in? It's Farad Isaac.
You want to react? Because I will come back if you raise another political issue.
No, that's fine. I accept what you're saying, and I say to you with due respect that I assume that what you've just said in the last 4 or 5 minutes is that you are just personally expressing your own sentiments and not necessarily the sentiments of the committee, if that can just be put on record. Thank you, Chair.
No. I'm raising the sentiments of the majority members of this committee, not of the DA, of course.
And but not of the committee as a whole. Not of the committee as a whole.
I'm the chairperson. I'm reacting to an ideological position of the DA. And we as a majority in the ANC, we still want the state-owned entities because we do have fact that they are the only ones that can transform this country. And they are busy transforming the country. There's no transformation that is taking place in the private sector.
With due respect, these are your personal sentiments. And
It's
that's
a,
it.
it's a
These are your
sentiment, sir. I
personal
don't want to argue with
sentiments.
you, otherwise I will cut you off. I don't know because you are arguing with me now. I didn't argue
This is
with
a
you.
dialogue.
I
now.
allowed you to
Leadership.
speak. Now you are interjecting me. You are arguing with me.
I'm not
You are
arguing with you,
contesting my
Chair.
position. You have put your position. I allowed you to finish your position, and you
Good.
did it quite good. You represented the interest and ideology of the DA, and I dismissing it in this portfolio committee as the ANC, who are majority, not the DA. You are a minority here. You are represented by 2 people. You are represented by 6 people. Thank you. Can you come, Auditor General? Auditor General?
Yes, no, thank you, Honorable Chair. I was just struggling with my mic. And thanks to yourself, Honorable Chair. And
I have my hand up, Chair.
oh, let me pause.
Who's that?
Charlie, I've had my hand up.
I'll point you later. Now we
No,
are giving to Auditor General. Thank
It's the
you.
point of order on
No,
what
no,
you have
no,
been
hold your
engaging
horses.
on. No,
Hold.
sir, you cannot be so dictatorial.
I'm giving now. You will put
I've
your
been,
hand.
I've been
note your hand.
respectful. My hand up
Hello,
was
sir.
up before,
Hello, sir.
and you are being dictatorial.
Hello, sir. I don't want to do things that I never did in this committee.
Well,
I don't
what
want to cut
now,
people
what
out
you
of the
did-
committee.
What you're
Here,
doing now is
your
not correct,
hand.
sir.
I've noted your hand. I've noted your hand. I'm
My
giving
hand
now
was up.
the Auditor General.
You noted my hand, but you didn't call it.
Noted your
You
hand,
went
but
on
I'm
to
not
another
giving you a
item.
platform. I'm
And you
not
went on
giving
to
you a
another
platform.
item.
I'm giving the Auditor General to speak now, not you.
My hand was up before that.
I know your
Another
hand is
issue.
up. It doesn't matter. You can put your hand up.
Your
It doesn't mean
dictatorial
when you put
behavior
your hand
is
up, I have
your
to give you with immediate
dictatorial
effect.
behavior will be noted by the entire country.
Yeah, note your it's fine. It's fine.
Charlie, I
Yes.
just provoked.
With
fine.
disgust.
Go with the disgust. Auditor General.
Thank you again, and members, and thank you for the reflections on the presentations that have been made. I think indeed members are correct in that we do need to see a greater alignment between the mandate and the indicators and targets that have been set for these institutions, but more importantly, we really need to see them performing in terms of their respective mandates. And I think that goes without saying, and that is the sentiment that we also communicating to say that as the committee now goes through the process of reviewing these APPs, what we have shared with the committee, I think it's critical in terms of really looking very closely at the APPs and saying, have the APP that is being presented to us as the committee, when looking at the mandate, how closely aligned is it? And I think for me, that would be probably one of the biggest takeaway that we're communicating today. Maybe just then going more specifically around the role in terms of the accountability ecosystem is to say, now that we've shared this information with the committee, it is for the committee to really take it forward. And that is why we're talking about how do we then, as the AGSA, together with Parliament and other stakeholders, then work together to see that improvement. On our side, we've done the review of the APP, we've shared that with the department, and now it is for the department to ensure that what we have recommended, they thoroughly interrogate and then they analyze it and update it into their documents. But secondly, in terms of those that have been charged with the oversight role as it relates to the committee, is then to say, how do we then take this forward? How do we check that indeed these insights that have been shared have actually been incorporated into the document? And everything should really ultimately culminate in how closely linked is it to the mandate. And then more importantly, it must talk to, are we seeing the desired impact? So if we see this number of progress reports that you've done on whatever topic, what is the impact of that? What is the oversight responsibility from a department perspective? What is it that us as a committee ought to be doing? So maybe that's the broader context of this conversation, right? So I think it's important that we provide that context as we respond to some of the queries, right? Maybe starting off with the comments by Honorable Dlamini around the role of the shareholder, especially when we're getting into the strategy, into this SEP arrangement. What we are communicating is that in instances where you then do have government being a minority shareholder, what is the legal framework and what is the framework against which government will operate in those environments that will inform how they influence how these entities still continue to serve in the South African economy. So that is a policy matter that needs to then be addressed, and we're raising it really from that context. We have raised this matter previously in terms of the SOE bill, and we've said that there is a need for that to be fast-tracked and finalized as quickly as possible so that there's policy certainty in terms of how these matters are then taken forward. Secondly, when it comes to Transnet International is a 100% subsidiary of Transnet. So as we review the work around Transnet, we look at the mandate of Transnet and how the subsidiary will then fit into that mandate, and we equally then report holistically in terms of that. So again, from an oversight perspective, depending on the role of the subsidiary or the division, that will find expression into the APP, and then would still do that work. It will find expression into the financial statements. We still do that work, and then we report accordingly. I think, Honorable Katalia, thank you for your reflections. And again, here you're really echoing our message to say more needs to be done. So how are we then going to drive that impact? And I think without laboring the issue, we do appreciate your comments and what needs to be done going forward. And I think as we wrap up, we'll maybe have to have a discussion to say, what are the next steps? What are the things that need to be done by the committee going forward as it relates to seeing the improvement in the performance, but also seeing an improvement in terms of accountability and oversight and consequence management and all of those things. I think Honorable Gumede, also thank you for your comments. Really appreciate it as well. And you had specific questions that you were asking to say, when we're looking at our extended powers, right, where there are criminal activities, what then happens? So if you look then at how a material irregularity is defined, you will see as part of the definition that there is a part that talks to if we identify fraud or anything that in the audit process. We do have a responsibility to ensure that if that is identified, we do report it to the necessary authorities for them to take it forward. So in terms of the definition of the material irregularity, where we do identify such, obviously this will be identified through the audit process. But when you look at the criminal activity, we don't have the expertise to investigate any criminal activity. So when we do identify a finding and we do believe that there could be elements of criminality to it, we then refer that matter to the necessary authorities for them to take it forward, whether it be the SIU, SAPS, and all of that. And again, this talks to the accountability ecosystem. In instances where we do identify a material irregularity and we do notify the accounting officer, and within the 20 days, they don't necessarily take appropriate action either to stop the non-compliance, to stop the financial loss, to stop the misuse of resources. We then evaluate those responses, we then evaluate those actions that are taken by the accounting officer. If we are not comfortable that adequate steps have been taken, we do a couple of things. So one would be, and Bongoza spoke to it comprehensively during the presentation, is to say, where appropriate steps have not been taken, we do go the further step to say, we're going to make recommendations that are binding. And we issue those recommendations that are binding, similar to the public protector, to the accounting officer. And still, if no further action is taken, or if we believe that appropriate action is not being taken, we do have the option of referring that matter to an appropriate body for further investigation as well. And then ultimately, if we've given the accounting officer to take action, they don't take action, made recommendations, those recommendations have not been adhered to, we then go the steps of maybe considering whether a certificate of debt should then be issued. So that is the process that we follow. And I do believe that in terms of the material irregularities that have been identified in this sector or in this portfolio, we do owe it to the committee to really come back and give feedback in terms of how many do we believe that appropriate actions is being taken, how many have we referred, and then how many are then maybe sitting in the recommendation stage, and then what is then the role of the committee in responding to the status of this MI. So we need to really amplify the role of the portfolio committee in supporting the AGSA to make sure that these extended powers are having the desired impact. And we do commit to the committee to come back and share that information. You then commented on not all audits are not good. What action is being taken around those that are not doing good, right? And from our perspective, as you know, we do the audit, we share the audit outcomes, both from a compliance perspective, from a financial statement perspective, and from a performance perspective. Now, in terms of the recommendations that we make, and again, I'm going to refer this to the accountability ecosystem to say, there is an audit committee, there is internal audit, and there is the accounting officer. They've got a responsibility to make sure that on the matters that we've responded to or we've reported, that a proper action plan is put in place, and that there's adequate oversight over that action plan. Even when we come with those findings to the committee, it is equally important for the committee to call the state-owned enterprises to say, come to this committee and present your action plan. And part of the oversight, the oversight that the committee can place to say, on those action plans that have been presented to this committee, certain commitments must be made, and the committee must continuously then track whether there is traction in terms of those matters. So one of the recommendations that we're making to the committee is indeed, as part of calling these entities to come and account, there is a need to say, what are the action plans looking like? What is the progress on these action plans? What is the monitoring looking like? And the committee must satisfy themselves that there is indeed traction. That is the only way that ultimately we will see that notable improvement, right? I think Honorable Isaac, you spoke about the greater alignment between the mandates and the indicators, and I think that is the core of also the message that we've been communicating. But again, in terms of some of the areas that we've identified, Alexco and a couple of other issues, there is a need for the committee again to just put these matters and have a way of saying, who needs to then come into the committee and account, and then hold those are accountable. So again, here we do believe that as we're busy with the Alexco audit, we're going to go in, we're probably going to finish the audit. I think we're planning to finish it probably in June, July, somewhere there. For the outstanding audit. So it would be good to come back to the committee and give them feedback. And based on that feedback, then the committee can see what are then the additional steps that ought to be taken, right? I think we couldn't agree more, I think, Chair, with Honorable Mukwanazi and the general members at large in terms of the need to reflect on the performance of these entities, but also the need to improve public confidence. Part of our culture shift strategy is to say the work that we do must improve public confidence. And I think there is alignment in terms of that with the committee, because what I'm hearing as well from the committee is that there is a need to improve public confidence as it relates to the public enterprises portfolio. So that is welcomed. And I think at an overall level, Honorable Chair, when it comes to the department itself and the issues of accountability and transparency and the effectiveness of the oversight, that is really the message that we're saying, to say, are we seeing impact? Are we seeing appropriate oversight responsibility being taken? And to the extent that it's not, let's be clear about what the next steps are. So I would encourage the committee to then say, out of this that we've shared, what are then the 5 things or 4 things that the committee is going to take forward in terms of ensuring that there is indeed accountability and transparency. And we continuously look at the performance of the department and say, to the extent that they're not performing, we need to elevate these issues into the audit report, and we'll certainly continue to do that. But what I want to agree with you, Chair, on is that indeed we need to put in our energy in terms of improving the state of the state-owned entities, right? When they achieve their mandate, we do achieve a lot of greater impact in terms of the lived experiences of the South African citizens. So from that perspective, we're really wanting to see that there is that improvement. Chair, I will pause there and maybe just allow my colleagues to come in as it relates to maybe some of the questions that I might have missed. I do have Musa who did the presentation, as well as Montandazo. If they can just maybe come in if there's any matters that I could have potentially left out. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Can another person come in from the Auditor General?
Thank you so much, Chair. It's Unamthandazo Ndlovu. I think Amadi has covered most of the salient points that were presented, but I'd just like to maybe reiterate again the issue of, the review of the APP. And I see that the one that was sent through to the committee has already been signed, but maybe just the committee, would take that into account together with the findings that we noted, just to make sure that there is then that alignment between the 2 documents. So I think from our side, then it will assist greatly to say the work that we have actually done has been taken into account to ensure that that greater alignment then between the mandate and the APP is actually coming through to the fore, and all those other issues that I think that we presented have actually been addressed. So I'd really appreciate that. And maybe also just before the meeting does wrap up, those commitments really from the committee to say, from what it is that has been presented, this is how the committee will then proceed going forward based on our findings. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Okay. Bongo Musa.
Thanks, Chair. And then I think my colleagues have covered a lot. Probably the last comment I would provide, it was a question around what was the department's reaction to the findings. Mostly they accepted the findings, and then they committed to go and make changes to the APP. The one that you have now has got an update or based on the findings that we had raised to them. Although we haven't checked whether they have fully addressed them, there are some matters which are based on the feedback from the team when they were looking into it. They could see that immediately when we were raising questions around a specific indicator, they would remove them. But obviously, by removing them, then it could present an incomplete reporting in terms of their mandate. And I think it has already been suggested that this committee may be of best used to ask them as to say, what was your reaction to the findings, and then to what extent have you addressed them, and or those ones that you either decided to remove, or to those ones that you have not addressed, how do you plan to address them? Those are the oversight questions that this committee can be able to work with in terms of dealing with the APP. So it will help them to be able to account not only to us, but also to everyone that is in the ecosystem. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's a response from the
The chair is completely inaudible.
Come again.
Unable to hear.
I'm giving you an opportunity to speak.
Me?
Yes.
No, the import of what I was going to say and the timing of it has passed thanks to your actions. I will have nothing to say now.
Thank you. Is there any person who want to have a second bite before I release the Auditor-General?
Chair, could I, in terms of a second bite, could I, it's a pity, I mean, I don't know, we haven't been apprised of who from the department or who from the ministry was present in this particular presentation.
No one from both the ministry and the department is here.
Well, may I record that that is a crying shame. Thank you.
No, we normally not invite them when we meet. That's why I was checking if is it a right practice, because even I remember last time we had Auditor-General, it was between ourselves and the committee. We didn't invite them. I don't think the problem is from their side. The problem is from us. We didn't invite them. Dusan, can you come in for that? Because I don't want just to assume. Mochumi? Mr. Mochumi?
Yeah.
I don't know whether the problem is with me or Lebu. Where is Dusan?
In the absence of Dusan, the Secretariat, our understanding from the department is that this was strictly preparation for the engagement next week with the department, and therefore we were not expected. Yes, some of us are here, but we are just following the proceedings, not to engage. That's how we were made to understand, and that's how it has been all the years as we prepare for this through the Secretariat. I thought I should clarify that, Chair. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's my understanding. Normally, we have this meeting in preparation for the IPP engagement the following week. We meet with this week, we meet with the Auditor-General to take us through on these issues. So to empower us to engage with the IPP, where the department and the ministry will be present. That's our always practice. Yeah, honorable members, seemingly there is no one to raise anything. Let us release all our visitors, I mean the invitees, the Auditor-General. Thank you so much for your comprehensive engagement with this committee. We thank you so much. You can leave us now so that we can be in a position to engage on the next matter.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and thank you indeed to the honorable members for their inputs. We really do appreciate it, and we really do appreciate the fact that we are jointly working together towards improving the state of these auditees. Honorable Chair, as we were doing the presentation, the certain recommendations that we've made, and we do hope that the committee will take those forward, and we hope that those also empower the committee in terms of the engagement that will be coming in the following week. I think what we will do is through you, Chairperson, after the committee maybe has deliberated on what we have shared, it would be important to again reflect on what are the commitments that the committee is going to take going forward. And I think we will touch base with yourself, Chairperson, so that once those commitments have been made, we can jointly see how we can work together in terms of ensuring that we support the work of this committee and empower the committee with the insights through the audit work that we will do. So we will definitely engage with you, Chairperson, once you've engaged with your committee in terms of what those commitments are going to be going forward. But we do thank you and the committee for the session and for the interaction. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable members, I just want to check first. Disang, are you back? Disang? Is Disang not on the platform? Disang? Honorable members.
Sorry, Chair, it's Lee here. Disang did notify me he's having some network issues at the moment, so he's not on, I think, at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Honorable members, I just want to make a short announcement. According to our plans, this coming Friday, we're supposed to be having that session about the complaint of the Director General, which was referred to us as a portfolio committee to deal with. We were supposed to have that meeting this coming Friday so that we take the process forward. We were to invite the minister to give his response, which is already written, but he was to make a presentation in the committee. And following that, we would listen, therefore, to the Auditor-General putting his response to that. And then thereafter, the members engage, which will culminate to us taking a decision as to what do we do with the information that has been presented before us. Therefore, the Friday meeting was the meeting where these two parties will be making presentation, and then we engage those presentation. And the following Friday, we will be working towards making a determination so that we can be in a position to give a report to the speaker. That was the expectations and the program we set ourselves in relation to that. However, we received an information that the minister is abroad and will be coming back on the 13th. And then that gave us no option because we don't want anyone to make complaint when we finalize the issue. We need to give everybody an opportunity and be fair to everybody in terms of putting his or her side of story so that we can be in a position to make a fair determination. That is the situation. Therefore, our meeting won't be able to take place this Friday. We'll look at a date where the minister will be present. I just wanted to put that to members so that we understood, because people will think that we are trying to delay this matter, of which we are not. We would like to deal with this matter as quickly as possible so that we put it behind our back. That is it, honorable members. I'm checking if seemingly we all understand Therefore, on that note, honorable members, I will check if there are minutes so that Disang take us through with the minutes. He's still not there. He's in and out. I think he's really experiencing those problems. Honorable members, I think let's end this meeting on that note. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.